Ontario's housing market has been a roller coaster for years, and for most people, it's been more of a nightmare than a thrill. Cities like Toronto, Mississauga, and Ottawa have seen housing prices reach astronomical levels, pushing many working families out of the dream of homeownership entirely. In Toronto alone, the average detached home still hovers near $1 million, even after market corrections. But here's the twist. While major urban centers are struggling with affordability and high mortgage stress, there are towns across Ontario where home prices are so low they almost seem fake. Across smaller towns like Timmins, Sault Ste. Marie, and North Bay, you can still find three-bedroom houses listed for under $250,000. Yes, you read that right. Entire homes for the price of a Toronto condo down payment. These towns, often overlooked by both investors and newcomers, are quietly becoming the last true havens for affordable living in Canada's most expensive province. And the difference in cost of living is just as dramatic. In some of these communities, property taxes, groceries, and transportation all cost a fraction of what city dwellers pay every month. But what's really happening here? Ontario's housing imbalance isn't just about money. It's about migration and opportunity. As remote work becomes more normal, more Canadians are realizing they don't have to live in crowded, overpriced cities to make a living. Families are moving north and east, chasing affordability, safety, and community. The shift is subtle, but it's reshaping the real estate map. Where people once dismissed these small towns as too far or too quiet, they're now seen as peaceful escapes, and the secret is getting out fast. Still, this new interest is raising questions. Are these towns the next wave of Ontario's real estate boom, or will they remain hidden bargains for years to come? Experts warn that once demand hits, prices can skyrocket quickly, just as they did in the outskirts of the GTA during the pandemic. So as home buyers and investors start exploring Ontario's forgotten corners, one thing is clear. The housing story isn't over. It's just moving somewhere quieter, cheaper, and maybe smarter. And if you know where to look, you might just find a deal that feels too good to be true, but isn't. While everyone's eyes are fixed on Toronto's chaos and the skyrocketing housing prices across southern Ontario, there's a quiet revolution happening in the province's overlooked corners. These are the towns nobody's talking about, the ones where homes still cost less than most people's annual income. Places like Kapuskasing, Elliott Lake, and Hearst may not make national headlines, but they're becoming unexpected safe havens for Canadians who are done paying city-level prices for basic shelter. Let's take Elliott Lake, for example. Once a struggling mining town, it's now quietly reinventing itself as a retiree's paradise and a refuge for anyone seeking low-cost living. A detached house can still be found for under $200,000, and with clean air, beautiful lakes, and friendly neighbors, it's starting to look more like a best-kept secret than a forgotten community. The same story is repeating in other small towns across northern and eastern Ontario. Towns where the Canadian dream is still alive and affordable. But why are these towns so cheap? It's not because they're undesirable. It's because the demand simply hasn't caught up yet. Many of these regions were dependent on resource industries or manufacturing, and when those faded, so did their populations. Yet now, with remote work and shifting lifestyles, people are rediscovering them. Young families, freelancers, and retirees are realizing they don't need to be within commuting distance of Toronto to enjoy a good life. The real magic here is value. For the price of a cramped condo in the GTA, you can buy a large home, own land, and actually have money left over to live. These overlooked towns offer what most big cities can't: space, peace, and freedom from the endless rent trap. And unlike the overheated housing bubbles of southern Ontario, these markets are stable and slow-moving, giving buyers a chance to breathe. Of course, challenges remain. Job opportunities may be fewer, and some areas need better infrastructure. But for those willing to trade noise for nature, these towns represent a rare opportunity in a province obsessed with high prices. So before you give up on Ontario entirely, maybe take a second look at the places everyone else forgot. They might just surprise you and save you a fortune in the process. ChatGPT. When you see houses in Ontario selling for $180,000 or even less, your first reaction might be, what's wrong with them? The truth is nothing major. It's the economics of location and perception. While southern Ontario cities like Toronto, Mississauga, and Ottawa have become symbols of impossible housing costs, northern and rural Ontario operate under a completely different reality. The population density is lower, job demand is slower, and urban migration has left behind towns that still carry the infrastructure of the past, but without the high demand that drives up prices. Take places like Kirkland Lake or Cochrane. These are communities built during the boom of mining and forestry, industries that once brought thousands of workers north. When those industries slowed down, many people left, but the homes stayed. Today, these towns are filled with sturdy, spacious houses built decades ago, and now selling for a fraction of what a Toronto apartment costs. Another key reason is the absence of speculative investors. In big cities, housing has become a financial asset, not a home. Investors buy up properties to flip or rent, inflating prices and squeezing out first-time buyers. But in small Ontario towns, that investor frenzy barely exists. Homes here are sold for what they're actually worth, not what a bidding war can drive them up to. It's also about lifestyle priorities. Many buyers today still cling to the idea that success means city living, even if that means taking on a lifetime of debt. Meanwhile, rural communities offer affordability and freedom, but they lack some urban conveniences like big malls or constant nightlife. For families and remote workers, though, that trade-off is more than worth it. They get space, safety, and peace of mind for a fraction of the cost. The final factor? Timing. Ontario's housing market has been on a roller coaster since 2020, with prices dipping in smaller regions, even as urban areas try to recover. Sellers in these towns are motivated. They want buyers, and they're pricing accordingly. So while everyone else chases condos they can barely afford, smart buyers are looking north, east, and west. Where the deals are real, the competition is low, and home ownership isn't just a dream. Ontario's cheapest towns aren't too good to be true. They're just waiting for people to notice. At first glance, buying a home in small Ontario towns might seem like a sentimental choice. Quiet streets, small communities, slow living. But look deeper, and you'll find that these towns may actually be some of the smartest real estate investments in the country right now. Why? Because they're undervalued, underhyped, and sitting on the edge of transformation. Many of these affordable Ontario towns are located near new infrastructure projects, highways, and industries quietly expanding beyond the Greater Toronto Area. As urban living becomes unsustainable for average buyers, migration towards smaller towns is increasing. Families, retirees, and remote workers are moving in search of affordability, and they're bringing new demand with them. This slow but steady population shift is a foundation of long-term price growth. Take a town like Sault Ste. Marie. For years, it was seen as too far, too cold, too isolated. But now, with faster internet, more remote jobs, and improved transportation links, people are realizing it's a hidden gem. You can still buy properties there for under $250,000. And as more people relocate, prices will inevitably climb. It's the same story across towns like North Bay, Timmins, and Sudbury. These markets are where Toronto was 30 years ago, affordable, ignored, and full of potential. Investors who understand this pattern are already taking notice. Instead of spending millions on a single condo in Toronto, they can buy multiple properties in smaller towns, rent them out, and build real cash flow. The returns may not be flashy overnight, but they're stable, and that's exactly what makes them powerful. The other factor to watch is lifestyle migration. Canadians are getting tired of gridlock traffic, high crime rates, and endless bills. Many just want space, safety, and simplicity, and that's exactly what these small towns offer. As remote work continues to grow, these cheap areas could become the next wave of hot real estate zones. So yes, these towns may look quiet today, but in 5 to 10 years, they could be the heart of Ontario's next housing boom. Smart investors don't wait for crowd. They go where the opportunity is still whispering. Right now, it's whispering in Ontario's forgotten towns. When most people think of real estate in Ontario, they picture the chaos of Toronto, million-dollar homes, endless bidding wars, and sky-high rents. But just a few hours outside the city, something entirely different is happening. Quiet towns with beautiful scenery, low crime, and tight-knit communities are offering homes for a fraction of the cost. The question is, are these towns hidden investment gold mines waiting to explode in value? Right now, smaller towns across Ontario, from North Bay to Timmins, Sudbury to Sault Ste. Marie, are in a unique position. Prices are still low enough for the average family or investor to buy in, yet the signs of growth are everywhere. New highways, tech infrastructure, and a growing wave of people fleeing expensive cities are changing the real estate landscape. It's not just about affordability anymore. It's about opportunity. With remote work becoming the norm, thousands of Canadians are realizing they don't need to live in overcrowded cities. They can have space, safety, and a home they actually own, all while keeping their jobs. That shift in mindset is creating steady demand in towns that used to be ignored. Local economies are improving. Small businesses are reopening, and suddenly, the housing market in these towns doesn't look so sleepy anymore. Investors are noticing, too. Some are buying multiple affordable properties, renting them out, and generating strong monthly income while waiting for appreciation. It's a slow game, but one that's historically paid off. The same thing happened in the 1990s with smaller American towns. People laughed at the idea until those markets exploded 10 years later. Ontario might be next. Of course, not every small town is destined for growth. The real winners are the ones near infrastructure expansion, major highways, or developing industries. Those are the towns where population growth will be strongest and where home prices could quietly double within a few years. So yes, these small Ontario towns might seem quiet, forgotten, and too affordable to be true. But the smartest investors know that gold isn't found where everyone's already digging.